All right, everybody. This is Analyze Your Trade. So bring your tickers and start requesting, and I'll start going through them, doing my high-level analysis. If we need to take a moment and go through the couple patterns I follow. Looks like we got Urban first up there. So Urban out. Oh, click in the actual platform and not in the chat window. There we go. And let's see, Urban Outfitters. So I usually just start on a daily time frame, and at this point, kind of high here. I'm a trend pullback continuation trader. So the last pullback was right over here. We came up, hit the resistance, and we did it in kind of a normal expected fashion. I'll go through what that means here in just 1 second. Let me turn off that little extra annoying bit there. And so we came up right here, hit this first resistance zone, retraced to the breakout, which right there, then pushed on up through, hit the 1618 and stopped. Pretty dead cold right there. Now, the next expectation I would kind of look for is if this breaks down below these lows right here, probably going to come right back down to that area right there. Right back to the what I call the roadmap line. All right, that's pretty simple on Urban. All right, now next up, let's see, DDS, Dillard's, and again, trend pullback continuation. That's basically what I'm looking for. There's the pullback, and we're already at that first target. So we might possibly be able to extend this on up to 510. We may retest that breakout once again. I mean, we've kind of held it across there pretty well. If we can get the continuation, maybe up to this 560 area, we'll be very cautious. This level, 70% of the time, we would hit it after doing a pullback similar to this. This level up here drops off to like 35% likely. So giant drop off between those two levels. So this one much more likely to get hit before we see the next retrace all the way back down to the roadmap line out in the future. That's kind of what I would expect on DDS. If you're looking for smaller time frames, you're gonna have to let me know. But generally, I just jump through the big picture. PLTR is way cooked, and there's another whole component to this. If we kind of look at this, yeah, it's been a long time since we got the pullback back here in August. And in case you haven't seen this before, maybe nobody's shown you this. Look at these price to sales ratios right here. Look at these. Price to sales. I mean, we're talking about it's going to take 99 years. 99 years of the sales for PLTR. That's all the sales, not taking out costs or profits. We're not talking about anything with that. 99 years of all the sales going into the value to pay for that stock right now. That's just crazy. And it's 600 years if you look at the actual earnings after they take out costs and stuff like that. That's getting a little crazy. Anything over 20 years on the price to sales is usually kind of a bubble. And we're talking about 99 years. So this has room to come back to reality just a little bit, maybe a little over the skis. Now, this is also very much like what I call a bubble pattern. And at some point, could be here, could be up here, could be way on up here. We could go on up. Things can remain way more rational than anybody can stay solvent. May see some price action like this and then come back down. That's what I would keep an eye out for. We saw that very similar on SMCI back here, where it went straight up. We got some of that chop right there, and then it plummeted back. So be careful on PLTR. Just throwing out caution. Not a lot of people are jumping on the caution right there. And WFC, that one ping-ponging between the fib levels. Last big pullback back here. You can see we did the same 1272, popped up, hit the 1272, retraced it back to the 1618, pushing on up that next 82.33 level. And eventually we're going to pull this back to the roadmap line again. So I'm not feeling super strong about continuation without bigger pullback. That's my thoughts here. Right there, we're already hitting that 1272 on that last pullback that didn't hit the roadmap line. It's gonna be like a smaller time frame, probably down in a 1 hour time frame right there. And we've already played out that move. So Yeah, I'd definitely be cautious chasing that one. You may want to put your stop or warning level because you could ride it all the way back down into the 67 area on WFC. Vail Mountain Resorts. Oh, there's one. That one's hunting the bottom, right? I mean, total opposite direction here. So this pattern works the same way. Trend is down, pull back to the roadmap line, continuation right there, the 1618. Probably going to get that pullback to the roadmap line. Then we'll see if it can break above. Can it break above that level, retest, and go higher? Or do we get another extension lower? That's the big question on Vail. Um, there's a ton of stuff out in the market, like literally 8,000 tickers out there, and you got to be on your game. What's the best of the best? That's my thought process all the time. So you've got that low potential roadmap line right there. Continuation could be down in the single digits on Vail. That's pretty rough. So resistance going higher, coming up right in this area, and the target, if we bounce off of it, come lower, would be right down there. So I'm not sure a bottom's in place. There may be other people calling for a bottom, but continuation of the trend is what I expect until proven otherwise. So next up, mags. And dun, 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 dun. Roundhill Magnificent 7 ETF. So this right here looks like we played out the pullback, the continuation, and we're working on another pullback. That's what that looks like right there. I have a theory of what I call echoes in the market, and that right there would be a rough echo of that move. Now, they don't necessarily work in time, but they work in kind of size of the move. So right there, project that up here. So that would, you can see right there, that move comparing with a 3-point fib tool. And the way this is unfolded so far, it may take it out here somewhere in this vicinity before it actually plays out. So what it's looking like right now. So there's mags for you. And MNMD. Mind medicine. That's just a choppy hot mess right there. I would not mess with that. I really wouldn't mess with that. I wouldn't use your money and play this stock right here. This looks like a giant, what I call a dumpster fire. Look at that. Look at that drop. And then another pop and another drop, another little baby pop. And going to zero is a real possibility here. And it almost went to zero back here. So for goodness sakes, be careful. That's what I would say on MindMed. That's just a choppy hot mess of charts. No solid trend. Really, a lot of sideways and a lot of nastiness. And that's a cautionary. Anytime you see a reverse split in the history, that's a big red flag for me that I just don't trade things that have reverse splits. Never really successfully made money trying to chase something that was reverse splitting. So that's where they take a bunch of shares of stock and then now they collapse it and you have a little bit of shares of stock. So Axion Enterprise here. That's up to an extension. And off that big pullback, more intermediate pullbacks right there, played out, right there, played out. Yeah. So it's we've got this little pullback right here. It's likely to come back to the roadmap line. That's what I would say here. So this is probably a 4-hour bounce. Yep. Right there, this high, this low. There is the potential for this to squeak out just a little bit higher, 723 maybe, right there. But then roll back down. And if we don't hold that 4-hour, probably going back to the daily, which is on down just a little bit, right in there. Right in this area, right around 500, 515. And of course, that climbs every single day, the longer this takes. So could be, we pop up here and then roll back down like this. I do this kind of analysis every day on YouTube. So if you're interested in stuff like this, I do this kind of analysis every single day. JeffryTrader.com/YouTube. I think David can throw that in the chat right there. Next up, Roblox, RBLX. And I was looking at this, I think last night. So we've got this pullback back here that bounced off of my support resistance line, ran up higher, got to that 2618, which is an extraordinary move, really. You know, we could see we stopped kind of right here. We retraced the breakout, very classic. Moved on up right through the 1618s. Got a little consolidation there, and then ramped it right on up, spiked that 2618, which, you know, we had just a little slowdown at that 272. Then a large negative reaction, first move down, retrace. Let's take a little closer look at that in particular. Let's see what we did. Really close to the 4-hour. Didn't quite hit it. That move down, that retrace. Potential to get continuation on this move right down here. Something like that. Jump back up to the daily, look at where that lines. Yeah. So we could see a deeper retrace on Roblox that gets continuation down here over the coming days. And then once it does that bounce, like what would happen next? You would look for that high, that low, wherever that low might be. And then once we make this move right here, this is the conservative entry right in here. As soon as we get above that 618 level, and you can ride it up to these targets up here. Right there. That's the basic pattern we've been looking for. So, all right. And then Rocket Lab. RKLB. And that looks like it wants to retrace. That's kind of hit its head on something right there. It's up at new highs. We have, that was the ultimate low. So there's not really much. It's just one big giant move off this low. Everything to the left of this low doesn't really matter. Like there doesn't tell us any information as far as this move goes. This move has no pullback. That makes it really difficult to project any higher move at this point. So we're in a fib line from here to here. The risk of this is that we would see a larger pullback back down into the high single digits or low double digits. So there's potential for that kind of pullback before we could go higher again. Maybe like, I mean, with all the hype that's been around that one, it seems like it wouldn't be possible, but it's made giant swings in its past. I would be very, very cautious about chasing that one higher from this level right here. Fresh, FRSH. And Fresh works. So right now we have a set of lower highs, right? That's kind of the caution. I'm extreme caution. I'm always like, how can I not lose money? Like that's the number one thing. You got to stay in this game, right? You don't want to lose your money. So I'm always looking for the best of the best setups. And when I see like lower highs followed by lower highs, that's a big cautionary point right there. And I'm like, okay, this is something I got to watch out for. We have this low, we have this high. This could retrace right back in here in that zone. And we're going to have to break through that downtrend of highs to get any kind of upside going here. And so at this point, that's kind of the watch out zone right there. We're sitting right under it. If we can poke through, back test it, we could be set up to go higher. But right now, this looks like it may come back down in this zone before we can pop up again, test that level, break through, could potentially go higher. Right now, that's not the way this is quite set up on Fresh. I would be very careful there. Very careful. It's not shown that it's reversing into an uptrend. This is still a trend of lower highs. All right, EVLV. And that's a lot of sideways, right? I mean, been going sideways for at least 3 years, 4 years. So first off, that's the trend is sideways. What do you expect it to do? I expect a stock that's trending sideways, just chopping it in a low range to remain doing that. It's kind of like physics, right? An object at rest tends to stay at rest. Object chopping sideways tends to stay chopping sideways. And a stock trending higher tends to trend higher. A stock trending lower tends to trend lower until some outside force happens upon it. So right here, this is chopping sideways. I would expect that to continue. The range from that low to that high, there's your range that it'll probably continue to chop sideways in that $1.70 up to about $8 range. Sorry, I don't have anything better than that to give you, but that's kind of maybe like, well, I could make tons of money in that range. Cool. Buy low, sell high. That's the range. I'm looking for things that are going to, explode higher, go from relatively low to a lot higher, 2, 3, 400% just on shares. That's usually what I'm looking for. So, and those don't happen every day, but those opportunities are out there in the market. Now, this one, nice opportunity, potential 209, 232. We do have these two highs. I was talking about this morning on my morning live stream. We have those two prior highs, and that'll be some sort of resistance to going higher. As we approach that level, I would watch out if we can do another one of these pullbacks right here that we've done a few times and get another one of those put in here. That could set up where we get another one. Whoops, my drawing tool kept going. We've had these very repeatable expansions here. Had one there, one here. If we get another one of those pullbacks, it could easily push us even higher. So looking for another one of these very proportional pullbacks that we've done a few times already. Can do another one of those right there. Potential to push on out to new highs on DoorDash. That one does look a little better. TSLL, that's really Tesla is the underlying. I don't like to just jump down to a leverage ticker. If we go look at the Tesla stock right here, this overnight hit my support line. The overnight hours, we'll have to jump down to a lower time frame, turn on the extended hours. And if we mark out, grab the line tool right there, we mark out where the low was right there, jump back up to the daily, and you can see that low right there hit the top of that daily roadmap line. So this actually could be done on this move on Tesla. That could have been the finishing move for this correction. It was a very three-wave type proportional move right into that support. So multiple ways, same kind of bottom potential. So now the expansion here potential would be if we can break back above, let's turn this off over here, that 618 consolidation area right here. If we can get above that and grab my drawing tool right there, rally up here, get above that, could be like this. So if you're looking to jump into TSLL right now, if we go from here to here, we'll just bring this full circle. That's a 50% upside right there on Tesla shares. It gives a 516 target, possibly as high as 545, maybe even all the way up to 630. So that's the upside targets right there. And relate that to TSLL. So with a 2x leverage, that would be 100% upside. So we'd be looking for something like a move up into this area right in here, be a little conservative, maybe 90%, since it's not a perfect 2x. And you could be looking for a move up to 36. Now, if this actually does play out though, possibly it outperforms and goes on up to 47, possibly 52. So just looking at Tesla's share price, bringing it back more realistic. This one may actually stall out at a lower high situation somewhere in here, but it does also have the potential to outperform and come on up in this area right there. All right. Hopefully that helped on TSLL. CYBR is way up there. Let's see. Trying to get the scope of the land here. This was the last bigger pullback. We're already hitting the 272. Let's bring that on up to this one right here. Get the 3618 of that one. Bring it on up to this one. Yeah, this is looking pretty played out at this point. And I would be careful chasing this long at this point. If we start breaking through some of these lows that we've put in up through here, be very cautious. This could very quickly end up down here. And like we've seen on some stocks lately, they just go from being up here to being down here very, very quickly, especially since we have earnings coming up right there on the 13th. That's tomorrow. So if they don't crush the earnings and give some nice forward guidance that the market's expecting, we could wind up down here pretty quickly on cyber. ASTS, I would bet on short. Like if I was betting on that one, I would bet short on earnings, not long. ASTS, there's the potential entry right up there. We kicked it off just recently. It's given 2 days extra to enter in, and the upside as we push up through these highs that we've had pretty solid here. If we get the continuation, that target right up in this 44 to 50 area right there, 43.75 to 48.40. That would be the target area right in there in the coming days. Now, if we don't make any move higher than this, that's where things get a little leery. There's always a positive and a negative potential. Negative potential would be down here. So if this crushes down, gets below that roadmap line again, maybe heading down in that area right there. Excuse me. All right, moving on. FCX, Foxtrot, Charlie X-ray. And let me clean up what I've said before. Remember what I said about sideways? Yeah, that's what I see right here quite a bit. And we did push a slightly higher high, and we've held higher lows, except this low is lower than this low, which is not great. So it's a lot of choppiness in the range. When we start overlapping prior highs and prior lows, it just really destroys the potential of a stock to go substantially higher. I would kind of expect it to keep playing in this range from 30 to 50. That's just what I kind of expect at this point. Now, I do have a longer term, somewhat bearish view on copper that may play out here. If we see that downward pressure on copper, this one may take a deep retrace. So, alarm, ELRM, alarm.com holdings. Again, a very sideways, choppy. This one has a expanded range back here in 2020 to 2021, and then we're narrowing it up lower highs, as I've talked about on some of the other things, but we also have higher lows coming across here. So it's really, this pattern, it's kind of forming one of the patterns I call a watermelon seed squeeze, which is not my favorite when we get this triangle thing going on here. You can think about it, when you squeeze a watermelon seed and you squeeze it real hard, it's nice and slimy and it pops, and you never know exactly if it's going to go this way or this way, and how far it might go, or if it might go swirling off some other direction. So this is winding it up. We're likely to make a move that's somewhat the size of this beginning part back here, somewhat the size of that mouth. And it could be up and it could be down. Like that's the kind of difficult part of this pattern and why I don't like it very well. It's probably my least favorite pattern. So we could go as far down as 15 or as far up as 200 off of this potential squeeze here. And it's been winding up for 5 years. So when this pops, it's probably going to pop really good. An example of one that did that, this one right here, Costco. You see it right back here. For a number of years, we consolidated sideways and then we popped and we've kept going. So this one, you know, this one had a positive outcome right here, but this one wound up and wound up and wound up and then popped right there. So alarm, not too keen on that one. I don't have a good feel for whether it's going to pop higher or lower. Sorry about that. Hood, I have an upside target of 60 right now. I'm looking to get off. I have shares on this one. One of the first ones we pulled up that I have shares on. I'm looking to get off at 60, and we could possibly make it all the way to new highs up here around 80. I'm not feeling super confident about that. Last big pullback back in here. And the confluence of, we're already pushing through that confluence at the 50s, and I'm just not feeling strongly about going higher, but there is another confluence of targets right up here. This one gets a little more complex than just the basic patterns I've already shown off there. All right. Try to hit a few more before we get to the end here. Got about 5 minutes left, it looks like. FNV. And yeah, a lot of sideways here. It's not super strong to me. Potential resistance up around 167, potential support down around 100, and just float in that $60 range, which is, I know it makes it tough to trade, but stuff that it's not that you couldn't make money in that. It's just I don't expect it to go on a big crazy trend outside of that. So WPM, wheat and precious metals. We've got this high, we've got this low, and upside potential right there around 70, 72. Not a lot of upside from where we are, but it's a little bit right there. Off of that trend pullback continuation, MGA, and potentially plummeting into the abyss here. That low, that high, that pullback, trend is down, pullback, continuation. We already hit the target, pulling back again. We may come up to, here's the resistance line right there at the roadmap line, coming down pretty steeply. So we may see that, and another continuation down would be what I expect off of MGA. And we did hood Main, Corn Main, no, Main Street Capital. And we've got that pullback right in there. We've already hit the targets. So retrace back in the 50s, probably mid 50s. That would be what I expect off of Main. 3 minutes left. All right, EWCZ. All right, and another one that's in a downtrend right here, pulling back. And continuation will be down into this $4 area if we got that continuation right down in there. And then let's throw in this one real quick since we have Apple has pulled back to this roadmap line. Right there. It's crazy. It's not as fun and exciting as some of these small ones, but if we can get through this resistance right there, we had that high, we popped on earnings. If we get through it, upside potential right in this zone right here. Not glorious, but you can make a good chunk of money. Trade Apple from 235 up to 266 right there. And all right, that's getting close to my time here. Spots, I'll throw a couple more if I can possibly get them. Spot is hitting targets, but we have a bigger upside potential if we can rally on up to that 1618 at 1100 up there, right there. And that's pretty much it.
I don't see Jim in the room yet, so if you have another one you want to look at for a couple minutes.
All right. Yeah, I see G in there and green pack. So this one, now earlier I said that, this low and anything to the left of it you couldn't really look at, but this one has more price history over here and lower lows. So we can actually look at this pullback right here from here all the way down here and project a 58 target, possibly 63 target on G right there. And that maybe, this one could over the coming days reach that level, kind of pull back, retest that breakout level right there where we gapped up through it, and then potentially get expansion on up to 63 and possibly even continuation up to 78 on G right there. All right. And I'll hit a few more, David, until you tell me to quit. A-Lab sitting on the
Hello.
roadmap line.
Yep.
Hey, got somebody else in?